bullseye.
Action! Action!
Dive! Dive! Why the hell have you dived?
Britain may have dealt with Dönitz's aces,
No way back to Germany this time.
but his U-boats keep coming.
Fire!
New orders for Group Schlag. Attack at will in all coastal areas.
They sink ships faster than Britain can build them.
If we keep losing ships at this rate, the country will be down to just a few weeks of supplies.
People will be starving to death.
Happy hunting.
The Royal Navy turned to retired wargamer Commander Gilbert Roberts and a group of young women.
Sir?
Ladies, if we lose the Battle of the Atlantic, we lose the war. Our job is to find a way to sink the U-boats. That is what we will do here.
Say the board is set.
By recreating battles and playing through scenarios in a war game.
Is that Dönitz's master tactic?
We need to work out how to destroy them.
Gilbert Roberts reports to Western Approaches Command, the Royal Navy's centre of operations for North Atlantic convoys in Liverpool, England.
Gilbert Roberts could be doing so much more at this point. Here's a man who's had 2 years training in war games. Wargaming allows you to understand how tactics work, and it allows you to explore new tactics.
Churchill couldn't be less pleased with how the Battle of the Atlantic is turning out. The fact that they're losing hundreds of thousands of tons of merchant shipping to U-boats.
Enter.
What Churchill has to do is not just stay in the war, but win it. You can only win it if you're going to win the Battle of the Atlantic.
Sir, Commander Roberts.
Thank you. That will be all.
Commander Roberts retired. I thought London was sending me a captain.
No, sir, Sector Commander. The Portsmouth Naval Anti-Invasion Battalion.
The Home Guard? Instructions from the Admiralty say that I'm to give you the top floor of the Exchange building. For?
A school, sir.
A school?
A tactical school. The Prime Minister has asked me personally to analyse U-boat attacks, decipher their tactics, and develop counter-tactics to sink them. These would then be taught to escort commanders at the school.
We already have a counter-tactic, Roberts. Buttercup. Developed by our own Commander Walker, a man who has actually sunk U-boats. Have you?
No, sir. And I'd very much like to begin with Buttercup. By analysing Commander Walker's actions, I can then play through other scenarios in a war game and identify any tactical weakness that we...
War game? Tactical weakness? I'm sorry, but what does a sector commander of the Home Guard know of tactics?
I spent 2 years at the Portsmouth Tactical School, sir. Wargaming. Before retirement.
A school to play games?
And I'll need men to staff the unit too. Men with good analytical minds. Good with records. But mostly good at playing the game.
Commander, I'm in the middle of fighting a war. All my best men are at sea. You might be able to scrape together a couple who are unfit for active service, but if you need more to play your game, you should speak to London.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, and Roberts, this school. Perhaps you can run occasional courses for half a dozen reserve officers, but don't bother me with it. I'm a busy man. Dismissed.
Percy Noble doesn't seem to be taking on board the importance of finding new tactical ways forward.
Dönitz is a tactical master. This is a time where it's more crucial than ever that he listens to Roberts.
So, secrecy is paramount.
Yes, quite right.
And for the Royal Navy, help arises from an American tragedy. After the attack on Pearl Harbor, the USA declares war on Japan. 4 days later, Germany sides with their Japanese ally and declares war on the USA. The Americans have already been unofficially supporting Britain through the war. Now they mobilize at full strength.
The idea was to get to Germany, to defeat it first, but of course doing that meant getting supplies and equipment, and now manpower as well, to the British Isles in preparation for an eventual invasion of Nazi Germany. But the American involvement created new opportunities for the German U-boats to attack American shipping. Dönitz saw this immediately.
The United States Navy should have been prepared for a submarine campaign, but the problem they have in early 42 is they don't have enough destroyers trying to protect merchant shipping. Most of them have gone to the Pacific to fight the Japanese.
This lack of protection presents Dönitz with a golden opportunity. He measures his U-boat captain's success by the number of ships they send to the bottom.
Admiral Stabs Officer. Orders for Group Parkenschlag. Proceed to Naval Square CA-28. New York.
Yes, Herr Admiral. He knew that the shipping would concentrate off New York, off Cape Hatteras, off Cape Cod.
American involvement in the war gave the U-boats a lot of new targets off the American coast.
Hey, Admiral.
Have the Americans learnt nothing from the British? Very heavy traffic. Mainly north-south. Very many tankers. Occasional neutrals. No surveillance. They're not even trying to protect their ships.
The United States Navy don't have the escort vessels they need to establish a system of convoy, so they decide not to do that. There's a marvelous directive that comes from the Office of War Information. Quite simply, the Germans can sink as many ships as they like. Really doesn't matter, because American industry is just going to bury them in new shipping.
All the more prey for the wolves to feed on. New orders for Group Parkenschlag. Attack at will in all coastal areas.
January of 1942, they sank 41 ships, 250,000 tons in just 2 weeks. And a lot of those sinkings were just off the coast of the United States, literally within sight of American home territories.
German success is so profound that it becomes known as the second happy time for the U-boat fleet.
With the Americans being destroyed in such numbers, it's more and more important that the convoys that do survive are protected, that the Royal Navy gets their ships across.
The scale of the task is enormous. Every available man is put to work, but there aren't enough.
Without women, we realise we can't win the war. Now that is a whole new ballgame for men to get their heads around and for young women to engage with.
The Royal Navy are forced to rely more and more on Vera Lawton Matthews' Wrens.
I do appreciate having your Wrens here. They certainly brighten the place up.
They can do more than that. Much more.
To begin with, the Wrens have just 9 roles. and they are fairly humdrum. If you're lucky, you're a typist, all right, or a driver. Those minimal opportunities expand to over 125 roles.
One of those are as code breakers at the highly secretive Bletchley Park, deciphering radio messages between Dönitz and his U-boats, providing vital intelligence on when to expect U-boat attacks. But despite the best efforts of the men and women of the Royal Navy, they still haven't deciphered the enemy's tactics.
Even though Roberts initially gets a very frosty reception, he is delighted to be back. He'd been cast out of the Navy due to having TB just 4 years earlier.
This is a man who had spent quite a lot of time in the interwar period thinking about these problems. He can use his skills, he can contribute to naval success, and if possible, he can contribute to victory.
As if to undermine Roberts' position even further, he isn't put in the main headquarters. His offices are in a different building, which hasn't even been finished. It's still under construction, and it's been bombed.
What's this?
A gift from Hermann Goering, damage from an incendiary bomb.
It needs to go. Arrange for it to be cleared.
Yes, sir.
I'll need battle reports. Anything detailing a successful U-boat kill, including convoy HG-76, Commander Walker's Buttercup Triumph.
Yes, sir.
He needs as much information as he can get about what's really facing commanders when they're out in combat to figure out what the U-boats are doing and how to defeat them.
I also need supplies to build the game board.
Canvas sheets, roll of linoleum.
Chalk, string, paint, and model ships. Yes?
Yes, sir.
Very good.
These requests raise eyebrows at Western approaches. I mean, here is this newcomer who wants to play games while battle rages in the Atlantic.
Anyway, sir, all this tactics and wargaming might be for naught. We already captured that Otto Kretschmer, and they already started interrogating him. Surely he'll spill the beans and give up all of Donnett's secret tactics.
Surely.
From 1939 to 1941, Kretschmer unleashed a reign of terror against Allied shipping.
A hunter's moon. Just as I like it. Prepare for attack.
Yes, sir.
Fire bow torpedo.
Sinking 47 ships across the North Atlantic, over 273,000 tons. More than any other U-boat ace.
That's as good as it gets.
The human toll is 830 lives. For his service to the Third Reich, Hitler awarded him the Knight's Cross of the Iron Cross with oak leaves and swords.
Dankeschön.
At the time, Nazi Germany's highest naval award.
Action! Action! Dive! Dive!
Why the hell have you dived? Are you sure we couldn't have gotten away on the surface?
But in March 1941, his luck ran out.
Sir, we've lost all thrust in the propellers.
Blow the ballast tanks. Everything we've got. We have to lose depth. Prepare scuttling charges and destroy all documents and ciphers. No way back to Germany this time.
Otto Kretschmer's this extraordinary U-boat ace. He's caught alive. That is such a win for the Allies. the MI9 have got hold of him. MI9 is a unit established to interrogate prisoners of war. It's like, if you like, a latter-day Guantanamo Bay. Here's your chance, boys. Drill into him, download his microchip of knowledge, and you are going to turn the tide of this war.
No, thanks.
You speak English. Would you rather we spoke German?
No, English is good. I might as well get used to it now.
Quite an impressive tonnage tally, Commander Kretschmer. It's making you very popular back home. The tonnage king, isn't that what Goebbels calls you?
It's just propaganda. I make good copy for the Nazi papers. My picture gets more waving flags, more men signing up to the U-boat corps. What for? To sink more ships? For Hitler? Sorry if I don't seem too enthusiastic. I grew weary of this war long ago.
You won't miss sinking ships?
I have sunk enough ships. The thrill of the hunt left me long ago, too.
And how do you hunt? You've sunk more ships than anyone. How do you do it? What are your tactics?
A U-boat captain, I mean a real captain, has to be able to take advantage of whatever the passing moment offers. You never know when you'll stumble upon a convoy. A real captain is born with the intuition to know when to attack and how to press home your advantage.
Smashing.
Do they get the key to Otto Kretschmer's knowledge? Do they find a way in? Do they, hellas like? This guy ain't the top U-boat captain for no good reason.
Kretschmer reveals very little to his captors. Dönitz' U-boat tactics remain a mystery. At Western Approach's command, Roberts tries to decipher them.
Sir, the report you requested.
Ah. Convoy HT-76. Commander Walker's famous buttercup tactic. Thank you.
Sir.
A report of proceedings was a standard report that was written by anybody in the Navy who had encountered the enemy. It explains what the enemy has done, but it also explains what the commander from the Allied side has done.
Buttercup astern!
HG-76 is important because Walker had some success during it. He wants to understand why Walker was successful.
Sir.
What has he thought up? Why did he behave the way he did? But if you're looking at a report, any kind of report, they're very, very dry. They don't really tell you anything about the human side of decisions that are being made.
Enter.
Sir, Commander Roberts.
What is it, Robert? Sir, I'd like permission to speak with Commander Walker about convoy HT-76.
Don't you have his report of proceedings?
Yes, sir, I do.
And you've read it?
Yes, sir. But to truly understand how Buttercup works, I need to speak with the commander. What assumptions did he make? Why deploy his escorts where he did?
Robert, Buttercup works. It's a sound tactic, which is why I ordered for it to be put into group operational instructions.
I'm aware, sir.
And now our escorts are being fitted with a new piece of technology. Ship-mounted radar. We'll be able to spot U-boats on the surface miles away.
That would be a great help, sir, undoubtedly. But to complete my work, I will still need to speak with Commander Walker.
Very well. When Walker gets back from sea, if he can spare the time, you may.
Thank you, sir.
Now, if you don't mind,
And Noble has another reason to be confident. The work of the Wrens is turning Western Approach's command into an intelligence hub. Up and down the country, Wrens working in radio listening sites known as Y stations are tracking U-boat positions.
My first station was on the Yorkshire coast, not very far from Scarborough, where there was a very big listening centre.
By comparing the bearing of the U-boat's radio signal with another Y station, the U-boat's position can be triangulated.
U-boats, of course, very seldom spoke, but now and then one would come up and would do a signal to its base or to other U-boats. When they did, there was a very, very tense atmosphere because they were such a menace to our convoys and ships. I was there when a U-boat came up. While they got the signal from the U-boat down, and particularly the position of the U-boat, because they could then report this back to Admiralty and they might be able to take action.
Very good.
That intelligence arrives pretty pronto via radio to Western Approaches, telling you the real-time positions of U-boat flotillas. So you plot them, you mark them on your giant map on the wall.
And Western Approaches are also benefiting from long-range aerial photo reconnaissance.
A lot of the analysis of these photographs was done by women. They wanted to see, for example, the U-boat pens along the French coast. By looking at these sorts of images, you had more of an idea of when they were going to leave the pens, when did they get back, how long were they out at sea, what was their direction.
It means Western Approaches are much more aware of when to expect attacks.
Excellent, thank you. That's good work.
But they still can't work out how the U-boats are attacking the convoys.
Sir, this is the room. Candidates will be with you shortly.
Thank you.
Before he can begin his work, Roberts clearly needs a team.
He needs people who are, quote-unquote, whip sharp. He needs the finest brains, boys who are going to knock the tactics back at the enemy.
Please, take a seat.
Lieutenant Commander Cousins, DSC, sir.
DSC.
Distinguished Service Cross, sir. Awarded for gallantry against the enemy.
I see. What experience do you have of tactics?
Tactics? We smash the U-boats with depth charges. That's all we need. We hound them out of the Atlantic.
I see. Thank you. Thank you.
Lieutenant Commander Hyam, sir.
Your experience of tactics?
Sir, I've served on both submarines and ships.
And tactics?
My ship sunk. I had to be hauled out of the water on a rope.
Dismissed.
Dönitz is a genius. He needs men who are able to think mathematically, tactically, very clear-headed, clear-minded. These are clearly not the sort of men that he's going to need to decipher Dönitz's tactics.
Commander Roberts, Vera Lawton-Matthews, Director of the Women's Royal Naval Service.
The Wrens.
I hear you're in need of staff. I can meet all your requirements. I've been recruiting the people you need for 3 years.
Wrens, I need naval officers.
And how's that working for you? Wren Drake, please enter. Please take a seat. Elizabeth Drake, the daughter of an insurance actuary. Yes?
Yes, Mum.
Measuring risk must run in your family. Yes?
Yes, Mum.
Thank you, Drake. That'll be all.
Yes, Mum.
Sounds essential for your tactical game, Commander. Next!
Wren Nancy Wales, sir.
Wren Wales, what experience do you have of tactics?
Well, sir, I captained the Yorkshire hockey team for years.
An expert in team tactics. Thank you, Wales. Janet Oakle. I hear you're a formidable bridge player.
Well, yes, ma'am.
And what makes for a formidable bridge player?
Well, reading your opponent is important, ma'am.
Reading opponents and scenarios strategically.
Ma'am, what is this all about?
Thank you, Oakle. That'll be all. And finally, a real gem. Wren Laidlaw, please enter.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Sir?
Wren Jean Laidlaw, accountant.
Yes, sir.
I haven't met a woman accountant.
I'm one of the first to qualify in the United Kingdom, sir.
I see. A keen mind for numbers, I suppose.
Yes, sir, very keen.
Just what your game needs to calculate those moves, I suppose.
Indeed.
Thank you, Laidlaw. That'll be all.
Yes, ma'am. Sir.
Right.
All of them, Commander. And they all bring a special set of skills to the table.
Exactly what the game needs.
In the early war period, almost every nation does not consider women for these sort of roles. The Wrens were a risk.
The task these young women are set is one of the most important in the war. If the Battle of the Atlantic is lost, Britain is lost. And if Britain is lost, the Western Allies will probably lose the war.
In Liverpool, Gilbert Roberts and the Wrens begin the next phase of their mission.
What knot is that?
It's a bowline, sir.
Where did you learn it?
The Sea Rangers.
The simplest and most resilient. Very good. Men, rig the canvas sheets around the frames like these.
Yes, sir. So, your linoleum, string, paint, chalk, and model wooden ships.
Excellent. Any news on the great Otto Kretschmer's interrogation? Did he spill all their U-boat secrets? Of course he didn't. That would be far too easy. It's up to us to decode them. And the first step for that is to build the board for the war game.
The board, sir.
The board. The board.
Sir, are you all right?
The board.
This is the thing which is going to win the Battle of the Atlantic. I mean, the idea is preposterous.
Oh, and sir, Commander Walker's just returned from sea. He's waiting in your office.
Well, why didn't you say? Buttercup. Wren Laidlaw,
Yes, sir.
wait 10 minutes and join me with Commander Walker.
Yes, sir.
Roberts wants to understand how Buttercup works.
Commander Walker.
The chance to sit down with Walker and actually try and get inside his mind. This is a crucial moment.
What's this about, Roberts? You want a debriefing on Buttercup to help play a game?
A war game. To play through scenarios, decipher Janet's tactics, and learn how to sink his U-boats.
Something I've actually done using Buttercup.
Which is why I wanted to speak with you. Convoy HG-76. 32 merchant ships sailing homeward from Gibraltar. 19th of December, HMS Stanley is torpedoed in New Order Buttercup. What happens then?
Buttercup astern!
Well, I've drilled all my escort commanders to go to battle stations on the order Buttercup. They turn away from the cockpit.
Ah, Laidlaw. Please, take a seat. Commander Walker, this is Wren Laidlaw, member of my staff. Laidlaw is an accountant by trade.
I've never met a woman accountant.
Laidlaw is one of the first in the country to qualify. So now you have.
The Stanley was hit. We can't be sure exactly where the U-boat fired from, but they fired from outside the convoy in. Once the ship is hit, they escape by motoring along the surface. On the order Buttercup, all escort ships turn outward, away from the convoy, full speed, chase down the fleeing sub.
Sir, how can you see the U-boats? The attack was at night, wasn't it?
We fire star shells, flares that light up the sea. We search for 20 minutes. If we spot a U-boat, we destroy them. Let's find that damned hearse and sink it. Buttercup, starboard. Come into our little trap.
Prepare to ram.
Buttercup has prevailed. Dearest Buttercup.
And it works.
My dear, we only lost 2 convoy ships. I personally sank 2 U-boats, and 3 more were hit by other forces under my command.
Sir, HG-76 had 16 escort ships protecting 32 merchant vessels. Is that a heavy escort?
No. More than most North Atlantic convoys, but sailing out of Gibraltar, if you don't go in heavy, then you're asking for trouble.
And how many escort ships were lost?
2 escorts.
Including the aircraft carrier HMS Audacity.
Buttercup works. We sank 5 U-boats. Admiral Noble even asked me to write it up for the escort group operational instructions.
Yes. So I understand. Thank you.
Everything they tried previously just failed. And so this was really the first glimmer of success. I mean, it was a success. Walker manages to sink 2 U-boats himself, and 3 others were sunk in this whole operation. But it was very, very costly.
Everything's in place. Roberts has got his game. He's got his bits in order to make his game work. He's got detailed battle plans so he can work out what the U-boats have been doing, and to help him, he's got his team of brilliant minds, these young, dependable women from all sorts of backgrounds.
So smart.
Vera Lawton-Matthews must be incredibly proud. She's handpicked these young women herself, and these women are not being asked to do rather menial tasks of answering phones or driving cars.
This was taking the fight to the enemy and spearheading a mission to save lives at sea. This was using grey matter, women's grey matter.
Wrens, let's make a start. Welcome to the Western Approaches Tactical Unit. WATU for short.
Mother Roberts. Janitor Kell. So I'm so sorry I'm late. I took a wrong turn and then another, and I couldn't find my way back.
It's all right.
I'm so sorry, sir. And I don't have a uniform yet.
That's fine. I'm glad you could join us. The uniforms are here. Please, collect yours. This is Chief Yeoman Rayner. He worked with me at Portsmouth. He knows the game inside out.
Sir, this isn't a Wrens uniform.
Oh, well, you'll be working a lot on the floor.
Sir?
Measuring on your hands and knees and so on.
Sir?
For this work, the standard skirt isn't exactly appropriate.
We're wearing the trousers now.
Indeed. Ladies, if we lose the Battle of the Atlantic, we lose the war. Our job is to find a way to sink the U-boats. But before we can do this, we need to decipher Dönitz tactics. That is what we will do here. By playing through scenarios and recreating battles in a war game. This is our board. A block for the convoy, model ships for the escorts. The players are divided into U-boat captains and escort commanders. Now, the escort commanders stand behind these screens and view the board through these lenses. Rendrake, would you? How much of the board can you see?
Sir, I can't see anything.
Ah, yes, bit of a problem. How about now? What can you see?
Not much, just a few models.
Just like at sea.
Exactly. It mimics limited visibility, just like a convoy, stretched for miles across the ocean.
And the U-boat captain, Commander Roberts?
The U-boat captain sits at the high table.
There isn't a model for the U-boat.
No, the escorts can't see the U-boats, just like at sea.
So how do we plot their position, sir?
Brown chalk. Drake, can you see the U-boat track?
Not a thing, sir.
Brown on brown. Thank you, Drake. An adjudicator hands action events to the players written on these chits. U-boat contacts, aircraft sightings, ASDIC pings, ships torpedoed. The players are then given 2 minutes to make their move. They write down their instructions on these movement chits. Course, speed, ASDIC sweeps, depth charges dropped. Then they hand them back in silence so the opposition doesn't know their intention. And the plotters move the models. The aim of the game is to sink the U-boats. And the battle report we'll start with is convoy HG-76. Buttercup.
Despite the Royal Navy's confidence that ship-mounted radar and better intelligence will turn the tide against the U-boats, they're still sinking ships faster than Britain can build them. More and more U-boats keep coming.
Dunnett's developed the idea that 100 U-boats on active patrol in the North Atlantic could all but shut down transatlantic shipping.
In April 1941, Dönitz had only 28 U-boats hunting at any one time. By the beginning of 1942, that number has exploded.
How many boats do we have at sea?
88, Herr Admiral.
88? That's close to the 100 we need to shut down the Atlantic. What is the monthly tally from Group Parkenschlag?
Parkenschlag. A 5 U-boat wolf pack. 23 merchant ships sunk for 150,000 tons in the last month. And they ran out of torpedoes.
But they are just 5 U-boats. This is a feeding frenzy. They are gorging themselves off the coast of America.
Fire! The German U-boat crews are having a field day off the American East Coast. There were so many available targets that U-boat skippers could pick out the ones that they thought would be most useful.
This led to a kind of specialization on hunting tankers, the most valuable prizes, because fuel meant war.
Britain's war machine runs on oil, and very little oil is making it across the Atlantic. Without fuel, Britain dies. The war effort stops.
This is a very productive hunting ground. Let's go for the jugular.
With everything in place, Roberts and his team begin. And the first thing that they're going to do is look at Buttercup and the HG-76 convoy engagement.
The first time that they actually set up for the war games, they don't play a game itself. This exercise is really for Roberts to get all of the ducks in a row, all the pieces on the board, to figure out what actually happened. Every single thing they know, step by step. Where did the convoy go? Where were the escorts? Where were the U-boats sunk?
It provides Roberts and his team with a bird's eye view, and that is going to give them a real advantage in understanding what went right on the side of the Royal Navy, but also what the German U-boats themselves are most likely doing.
Sir, the board is set.
Excellent. Let's begin.
Convoy HG-76. 32 merchant ships with an escort screen of 16 ships.
The escorts form a protective perimeter. The merchant ship is hit. What position?
The merchant ship, sir. Not the escort HMS Stanley.
No, the merchant ships are our lifeblood. I want to see how they're targeted.
The SS Anavor, convoy position 5-3.
Fifth column, third ship. Now what?
Commander Walker orders Buttercup. The escorts turn outwards at full speed and fire star shells to illuminate the sky.
They speed away from the convoy to try to spot the U-boat.
Walker manages to sink a U-boat earlier at the rear of the convoy.
Astern of the convoy.
Astern.
Good. At least one U-boat down.
Proof they attack from outside the convoy, like Commander Walker said. Is something wrong?
The merchant ship was hit in the center. Can they even hit What's the range of a torpedo? Leave the board as is. I need to make a phone call.
Operator?
Flag Office Submarines, London.
Connecting you now.
Roberts has an old friend who's based at Submarine Command, so he puts in a call. To his surprise, it's answered by the Commander Submarines for the Royal Navy. That's Sir Max Horton.
Admiral Horton?
Apologies, sir. I was hoping to speak with your Chief of Staff.
Captain McIntyre isn't present. You're through to the flag officer himself. Who is this?
Now, Max Horton is a big deal. He is the head of the Royal Navy's submarine arm. He was a submariner in World War I. He knows everything there is to know about submarine warfare.
Sir, it's Commander Roberts of the Western Approaches Tactical Unit. I wanted to speak with Captain McIntyre on submarine tactics.
I served in subs during the First War. What do you need?
Oh, thank you, sir. What is the range of a German torpedo?
The G7E. Roughly 5,400 yards, but that's the limit. Effective range, expect to halve that.
Now, remember, the ship that was sunk in HG 76, that ship was in the middle of a convoy. A convoy is 10,000 yards across. I mean, how does that make sense?
Commander, are you still there?
Yes, sir. One more thing, if I may. During the First War, would you ever fire from inside the convoy?
Of course. It's the only way of being accurate.
They're inside. They're bloody well inside.
Roberts, does this answer your question?
Yes, sir. More than you can know. Commander Walker, the Royal Navy, they all believe the U-boats fire from outside the convoy, but what if they're wrong? What if they're firing from inside?
The U-boats Walker sank. It would mean Buttercup is based on a false assumption. The Royal Navy are relying on luck to protect the convoys.
The Navy knew all along, but they forgot they knew.
Is that Donitz's master tactic?
It's getting late. Wales, Drake, you're dismissed for the evening. Get some sleep. Eglaw, Urkel, Rayner. I want you to stay.
As long as you need, sir.
We need to work out how the U-boats are getting inside the convoy. And find a tactic to destroy them.
Mein Führer, I can strike a decisive blow, but I need more U-boats.
U-boat destroyed.
How? Run the game again. We need to be sure.
Who devised this tactic?
Wrens Gr, sir.
And do you have a name for it?
Raspberry.
As in blowing a raspberry at Hitler, sir.
Well, let's hope it works at sea. Because now Dönitz has his 300 U-boats. He'll be hell-bent in using them to turn the Atlantic into a convoy graveyard.
Imagine the carnage we will sow.